Hey folks, I just did one video, and that was on gatekeeping. And by just did a video, I mean I just recorded it. I didn't do any of the editing. And by editing, I mean I literally just clipped the segment out with no editing, because I don't do editing. If there's editing that needs to be done, my editor does it. But there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. This is part two in a 4-part series on the problems I have with the left. This is no Dave Rubin skit. This is no Tim Pool skit. I'm not critiquing the left from the left, you know. Everything that I do and everything that I say is built on the idea that I want to maximize the possibility of us winning, broadly, the culture war and us achieving a society which maximizes the happiness and well-being for everyone, including the marginalized communities that we currently protect within our sort of political spaces. Water is important. It is important to stay hydrated, as a leftist, as a revolutionary, or otherwise. The second problem that I have with the left is purity testing and Wokescolding. Now, all of the problems with the left sort of overlap with one another, so some things I might say in one video may be sort of touched upon in another. They're all very broad. None of these are like specific events, people, or places, or time periods that I can really point to. It's more of a broader cultural predilection that sort of comes up time and time again. Now, I may actually be the world expert on dealing with woke scolding. I would invite any of you, and I'm being sincere right now, please, I would invite any of you to think of a bread tuber or leftist YouTuber who has experienced more condemnation from the left than me, currently. Is there a more contentious left tuber? Is there one who has incurred more ire or more woke scolding? I really genuinely, sincerely believe there's not. Now, contrapoints, maybe, but if we boil it down to per capita, my size relative to Contra's, I bet I would edge her out by quite a bit, because her shit is like 30 times the size of mine, and I'm pretty sure I get more than 1/30th of the woke scolding that she gets. But fair, flat numbers, contrapoints. Let's pretend that I deal with it the most, okay? But we don't even need to. Second most. I get a lot of woke scolding. I really do. What does woke scolding mean? Woke scolding, in my mind, means when you chastise somebody for not being woke enough. What does woke mean? Woke usually means progressive, right? Well, what does progressive mean? Progressive, generally, means that you are in favor of a broader political or theory-based sort of an ideology that that seeks to like build equality to liberate marginalized communities. So that's being progressive. So a progressive person would be pro-racial equality, or pro calling trans people by their pronouns, you know, equal treatment, happiness, supporting the, you know, minorities, the marginalized communities. Now, being woke and being progressive don't necessarily exactly mean the same things. Woke has kind of a negative connotation, you know, mostly because of people like No Bullshit or Tim Pool or whatever the term, you know, go woke, go broke. If you make a Hollywood movie woke, it goes broke, completely unsubstantiated, but they love to say it anyway. Woke kind of has like a negative sort of association. And the reason for that, I imagine, is because when people say woke, they don't just mean progressive. They mean progressive in an irritating, adjective, sort of obnoxious way. And that criticism can come from two perspectives. When somebody like No Bullshit, a truly subhuman simpleton, says, oh, something, wait, let me try and get myself in the no bullshit zone. Just Star Wars Last Jedi went woke and it went broke, even though it made like $8 billion box office. When you go woke, that woman there, she's black. All right, I think I did it. That's basically a no bullshit video. When No Bullshit makes a video about something being woke, it's like, it's bad. It's like, oh, look, they're forcing all this forced diversity. And No Bullshit is himself, of course, a Nazi, so everything that he says should be salted and poured into the garbage. But when I criticize something for being woke, well, I never do it. I never criticize something for being woke. I criticize like woke scolds. I've used this terms a lot. The woke scold I envision in my head is somebody who is more interested in demonstrating that they are morally superior to others than they are than they are in actually meaningfully advancing progressive politics. So let me give you an example. So a few days ago, I tweeted something here. I can actually find the tweet. Hold on. It was a funny tweet. I think it was nice. I had fun typing it. I was in a Petco when I typed it. I just remember that specifically for some reason. No. Here we go. All right. So here is my beautiful tweet, okay? No. Wait, really? Why does it... Here we go. Also, look, pictures of my kitty. Look at my little kitty. But here's the tweet. Nobody says anything. Daytime news. Young black girl's life unfortunately concluded after fatal collision with bullet discharged from weapon in officer's possession during no-knock raid on address dissimilar to address printed on warrant. So the joke here being, of course, that daytime television news anchors will often downplay police brutality. Because the actual, English of what this would say would be the cops broke into the wrong house and then shot a child. Unprompted, so that's the meme there. Okay, so right, pretty standard tweet. You've seen the joke before, right? You've seen that joke. We've made fun of the newscaster talk in regards to police brutality. Somebody responded to that. It was this black guy on Twitter, and they said something like, Vosh, considering your takes on things, would appreciate it if you didn't talk about black issues in the future. Other black Twitter users have made this joke before and better. Maybe keep your hands off it. Now, here's the thing. Leaving aside the implication that I have bad takes on race politics, which no one's ever accused me of before, by the way. It's impressive. Nobody has ever... You'd say that to me too, Vosh? Well, would you say it ironically, K-Prime? Because that's a real fucking dumb thing to say. So leaving aside the fact... No one ever has accused me of having bad takes on race before. It's funny, actually. I'm surprised. But, not from the left, I mean. I checked that guy out. He's a Republican. Well, what are you going to do? Okay, it would be ironic, K-Prime. Well, this person was quite sincere. So this, to me, let's break this down. So the argument this person is making is that they don't want me to make jokes that exist to make fun of the racist establishment because it's a black issue. Why? I don't know. I'm not trying to make it about this person. Maybe they have good takes on other days. Maybe they were just having a bad day. But this, to me, this is indicative to me of something. When that person typed that out, was their goal really, I am going to try to affect change in a way that will work to combat racism? Probably not. I mean, I'm kind of a public figure, albeit a small one. If I'm pointing out and making fun of racism, that's probably a good thing, right? So I don't think anyone could reasonably argue the outcomes of that action would make the world a more progressive or less racist place. But you could make the argument that that person was just, they didn't like me, and they chose to phrase their dislike of me through this performative wokeness, this, keep your hands off black issues, whitey take, in a way that doesn't really help anyone. In fact, it would hurt people, I imagine, if I stopped dealing with race politics in my videos, because that would mean I wouldn't be fighting racism anymore. Should I stop with the alt-height stream? I don't know. But it would mean bad, essentially. But it is a way to phrase dislike of me in a way that is a lot more difficult to challenge than if he had just responded and said, you're a fucking idiot, fuck you, you piece of shit, tiny brain, small boy. Right? This is kind of the feeling that I get from woke scolding as a concept. I feel like, see, I'm a consequentialist, and I believe that the morality of an action is determined by the consequences of that action. You know, rule consequential, like blah blah, rule utilitarian. This is fucking ethics stream. We're not getting into that, but generally speaking, I think that something is good if it does good, and if it's bad if it does bad. You know. So if we're in a situation where I'm in a position to potentially affect change in a positive manner, and somebody else doesn't want to see that, and they don't want to see that for ways that only really line up if you assume that they're trying to act out a dislike of me, like through sort of woke or pseudo woke language, then what do you get? Like, what are you working with there? I think what you're working with there is woke scolding. It's time for me to stop beating around the bush. In leftist spaces, there is a horrid tendency, a very common tendency for people to base their identities around the extent to which they can demonstrate a greater level of wokeness than the people around them. I'm going to share a story with you that I've shared on stream before, okay? And it's very embarrassing, so for me. So I would, so no laughing, okay? I've been on the left for a while. A while back, like 2012, 2013, I was a member of a community on Reddit called Shit Reddit Says. They were a largely like leftist feminist community, though there were a lot of libs there too. And they would make fun of problematic things that were said elsewhere on Reddit. And it was this was a very silly circle jerky space where they would talk about how all men and how all whites are trash, and I think that largely time has made their brand of lefty politics irrelevant, which is probably for the best because they were never very popular. They were a boogeyman of Reddit. People would always be like, oh, why did this racist subreddit get banned? Oh, it was the SRSers. And it was great fun, but not very effective in regards to rhetoric. Whatever the case may be, they had an IRC channel, and I was somewhat known around that place because I had argued with Destiny before, defending SRS, and I called myself Irish Laddie back then. I didn't do a great job defending SRS because at the time I was young, I was like 19 or 18. I just didn't do that great of a job. You know, we get better. We all get better, hopefully. I was in that IRC community as Irish Laddie, and I was generally ignored. Nobody really liked me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. So I had to find a way to gain social capital. I'm not like trying to like armchair psychologist analyze my previous behavior. This is literally what I was thinking. I need to find a way to get social capital. How do I do that? So I chilled in the stream chat or the IRC chat, and somebody in the chat talking about trans people, and they use the term trans woman. Now, for those of you who don't know, for a period of time, the politics around like language uses change all the time. For a while, when you said trans online, you had to say trans asterisk. Does anyone remember that? Can you hypers in chat if you remember that? Because it meant trans inclusive. But then a few years later, the asterisk got dropped at the end. Yeah, some of you, yes, for those of you who are question marking in chat, I'm not making it up. All over the internet in progressive spaces, that was what you did for a while. You would do trans asterisk, and it meant trans, like inclusive, you know? This stuff happens. Well, at the time, yeah, if you're question marking, then you just don't know. Like, this is a thing that happened. Anyway, at the time, and possibly still today, but more so then, it was a faux pas to write out trans woman like this. You never, ever, ever did it like this, because trans no space woman is a noun. Trans space woman is an adjective describing a noun. Since trans women are women, you don't want trans woman to be its own fucking word. You want it to be trans adjective woman. Make sense? So in the IRC chat, someone kept typing trans no space woman, And I was like, yes, here's my chance. And I corrected them. I was like, hey, I don't know if you know, but you're supposed to do trans space woman because da-da. And nobody responded to me. Nobody cared. There were like a dozen people chatting. I was completely ignored. So a few minutes pass, and they do it again. And I do it again. Hey, I don't know if you saw the earlier one. Nobody responded. Yeah, where's the soy emote at when you need it, huh? This was like fucking 6 years ago, so I can talk about this now without wanting to kill myself. And then the third time, I did it a third time. And someone was like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just trying to correct. And they were like, dude, she's trans. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, God. I was a failed woke scold. I was a ineffective woke scold, to say the least. And then I stopped doing that. I never did it again after that. In that one little lesson, I realized that that process, gaining social capital by like proving how woke you are, it's a horrible, myopic, toxic, cannibalistic process. And it just doesn't work out. And the funny thing is, I was taught that by, at the time, one of the most woke scoldy communities I have ever seen in my life, because SRS was insanely woke scolding. And they still are, but not to me. Or they weren't able to take it from me because I was like a well-known disliked white cis dude. Oh man. Oh, Mako56, you couldn't do that. I actually eventually got booted off that IRC channel because I said that I enjoyed A Christmas Story. You know, that old movie from like from 1,000 years ago that's like pretty racist and sexist if you look at it today. There's like the leg lamp, you know, A Christmas Story. A BB gun, shoot your eye out, Santa Claus. We've all seen this, right? If you're a boomer. Anyway, I remember one time I said that I liked that movie in the IRC channel while people were discussing problematic movies they liked, and people started shit talking me major, like, how can you like that movie? That movie is racist. That movie's sexist. And I'm like, what the fuck? We're all talking about movies. We're all talking about movies that are problematic that we like anyway. And they were like, I don't know why you would engage in apologetics for that movie. And I said, and I quoted Anita Sarkeesian, and I said, it is sometimes both beneficial and necessary to simultaneously enjoy a piece of media and critique it for its more pernicious aspects. And they said, don't you fucking mansplain me. I'm not joking. They actually said that verbatim. And I responded with saying, that's literally an Anita Sarkeesian quote. And they said, I don't care. And then I got banned. So I got counter woke scolded on that one. Just not a great community, honestly. My community's better. I made a better community right here. Whatever the case may be, let's talk beyond just the horrible optics of woke scolding and purity testing, okay? Let's talk about its practical consequences. Leftist spaces are only as strong as the bonds between their members are. That's just how spaces work. People, we need to feel comfortable with one another. We need to feel strong, tight-knit, a close mesh fabric, so that we can share news, we can rely on each other for support. If one of us needs money, we can maybe disseminate some of it. That's a good thing. Strength in social spaces is very powerful. This is something that we have that the right does not have. In right-leaning, like reactionary, like Twitter or 4chan, you can't go there and like talk about like how shit your day has been and like ask for support or monetary. You'll get called the N-word and banned, or probably not banned because they don't really get that ban happy over there. But they don't have that. They do have it in a broader sense. If a right-leaning figure needs money, then their Kickstarters tend to go fucking meet their goals within 3 hours. But that's more because of the size of the right and the fact that there's more money behind the right. But in regards to the strength of social spaces, I think that's something that we actually have better than them. But this gets in the way of it. See, social spaces should be based on shared need, shared identity, and they should be sort of they should be integrated through a collective desire to build social bonds. When we get stronger, that strength should be made collaboratively, not competitively. But woke scolding does the opposite of that. Woke scolding and purity testing are processes by which, within your own space, within your own community, you don't really woke scold a Nazi when you tell them to stop being a Nazi. That's not really woke scolding. But you can woke scold me when you tell me that actually I should stop speaking about trans issues because of that. You can woke scold me. Not really a Nazi. This is an inter-community thing. It only really works on leftists, kind of like cancel culture, which we'll get to in a second. And it's competitive. And I don't think it should be competitive in that respect. It's competitive by nature. You compete with others. Who's the wokest? Who has the greatest degree of sort of performative leftist, what have you. We've all seen this, right? Really quickly, wait, everyone, hold your hypers. I want to see a good combo. Have you ever, hold your hypers, have you ever been in a leftist social space and see lefties treat each other really shittily, because they're trying to like prove to one another how like woke and lefty they are, and like how demonstrably like better they are than one another, and it just ends up to sort of like the bonds breaking. It doesn't work, even though they're really similar to each other ideologically. Now, hypers, if you've seen that. Yeah, that's the biggest combo we've ever had in the fucking stream. Nice seat on team. Now, guys, you didn't lie, right? Just to get the hypers combo, you didn't lie, right? We were all telling the truth, because I see it all the time. I see people who could be friends, people who could get along, people who could build shared social threads, people who could collaborate, who could work together to build praxis, do this kind of shit to one another. And hey, by the way, there's a whole other tier of this that happens with content creators. I'm one of those people. I never woke scold other people. If I have problems with the behavior of somebody else in my kind of collective lefty social space, I never like scold. I don't try and like shame people for it. Usually all I'll do is express like, hey, I disagree. Do you want to talk about it? Unless they do something like unfathomably shitty, but I don't think I've ever had to respond to that. Like if fucking Peter Coffin went on Twitter one day and they were like, N-word. Like, something obviously, yeah, but But for the most part, I try to handle disagreements in a way that sort of facilitates bond building. I don't ever get treated with that same respect, unfortunately. Pardon me for complaining, but I'm a leftist. I do good work. I try to, at least, and a lot of people, a lot of content creators. I don't really need to name them, because if you know about, the respective drama, then you know. Don't share my philosophy on this issue, and are more interested in sort of scolding me for being not as good of a leftist. And it's possible I'm not as good of a leftist as some of these people. I don't think so. But I could always be wrong. But that's not really the point. If I were one of these people, I can give a clean example. Angie Speaks recently called me like a reactionary or something. Hey folks, it's me, Vosh, coming at you from the future. My info was actually wrong. Angie Speaks didn't say I'm a reactionary. My info is totally wrong. This is me from the future. I'm correcting myself. I think my broader point here still stands, but I didn't want to spread any bad rumors. It would be irresponsible of me to make claims like that if I knew they were untrue. So we're gonna get back to it. Ignore the Angie Speaks stuff, okay? I love you guys. The future's gonna be great. I've never watched a single video of hers. I have no idea. I'm sure they're lovely. But if I was Angie Speaks and I thought like, oh, I've heard all this, and this about Vosh, what would I be more likely to do? Would I scold or insult Vosh for his tendencies? I wouldn't do that, but I'm me, of course. What I would instead want to do is try to understand their perspective, or failing that, at least discuss it with them so I can express my disagreement directly and in a fair environment. But I didn't get that treatment, and I tend not to. And I'm not trying to be like ass-pained about it or butthurt or what have you, because I got a kick in the rump from the social space or anything. I just think the left would be stronger without that petty infighting. You'll notice that in spite of all the petty infighting that I am involved in, I very rarely initiate it. In fact, I don't think I've ever initiated it because I don't want to, because I'm not interested, because I like you people, because I want the left to win. And for the left to win, it would be really nice if we had collaborative, interests and work together. It's really difficult to do that when I feel as though there is social capital to be had and bred to by canceling me. And there is. It's one of the reasons why I almost never talk to content creators anymore. I've got open Twitter DMs that I've just left rotting there, Discord messages. I'm afraid of talking to a lot of larger leftist content creators because any one of them could at any point decide there's more social capital to be had and condemning me for something or another than there is for actually engaging with me. I know that in terms of if there was opposition going on, I know that I probably would choose not me, considering it's just me as opposed to other people. I just don't think it's productive, and I would like to see us do better. That would be really, really nice. Both for content creators and for non-content creators, just for people who are building honest, earnest leftist social spaces that seem to keep self-destructing because people are so interested in proving how much they deserve to be there.